Hello, the purpose of this video is to help you identify direct and indirect objects in French. Knowing whether something is a direct or an indirect object pronoun is going to help you in lots of ways. Knowing which it is will help you figure out whether or not to use a direct object pronoun like le, la, les, or an indirect object pronoun like lui and leur. Knowing whether it's direct or indirect will help you figure out whether there should be agreement in number and gender on the past participle, for example, when you're using the passé composé. And knowing which one is a good thing, because it will help you decide whether to use qui or que. Okay, so here we go. Let's look at this sentence. Hugo écrit une lettre. Hugo is the subject, écrit is the verb, and une lettre is the direct object. Hugo écrit à Anaïs. Okay, so there's something different. See that? When we see the preposition à, we know that the noun that comes after it is an indirect object. So Hugo is the subject, écrit is the verb, and Anaïs is the indirect object. Hugo écrit une lettre à Anaïs. So Hugo is going to be the subject, écrit is still going to be the verb, une lettre is going to be the direct object, and Anaïs is going to be the indirect object. So it's possible to have a direct object and an indirect object, just like in English. We use an indirect object after a verb plus the preposition à. See there? We have a verb, écrit, and the preposition à. They're not sitting right next to each other, but that verb, écrit, takes à. So now it's your turn. I want you to identify the object and the indirect object in each sentence. So Louise is the subject, lance is the verb, and le ballon is the direct object, and Henri is the indirect object because it has à before it. So the second sentence contains both a direct object and an indirect object. Why is it an indirect object? Because it has à before it. We're saying lance à, throws to Henry. Okay, so if à comes before the object, you know the object is an indirect object. And there's a lot of verbs that frequently have à after them, like donner à, téléphoner à, écrire à, envoyer à, parler à, and lancer à, like we saw just a moment ago. And if à comes before the object, once again, you know that object is an indirect object. So look at these examples. Maybe you are just now learning indirect object pronouns, or maybe you've moved on and this is review. But this is why we say tu lui donnes la carte. Even if I were saying you give her the card, we say tu lui donnes la carte. Lui is the indirect object pronoun for la and for le. Okay? But as it turns out, there are some verbs that don't always have to have à. They can have à some of the time, and some of the time they don't. So that means if it's écrire à, we use an indirect object pronoun. Sorry, we use an indirect object. But if it's just écrire, we don't. So look at that. Donner les vêtements means donate or give the clothing. I give the clothing. Je donne les vêtements. But say I give the steak to the dogs. Donner le steak aux chiens. I would say, je leur donne le steak. In the first sentence, I give the clothes. I'm not saying who I give them to, so we just have a direct object, the clothes. Je leur donne le steak. Le steak is the direct object, but leur is the indirect object. And it's the same thing with all of these. Écrire un roman is to write a novel, but écrire à quelqu'un is to write to somebody. La fin. Thanks for watching.